Ronald Acuña is back. Plus, we'll preview Week 10 and much more up next on a Kokomo Friday.
Alcantara, Soroka, you look so good in Boca. Peralta, Manoa, bounce back for Aaron Giolito, Castillo, Yoshida, Mosu, Carlo, and Fado. Value so high, but ADP so low. Frank loves him some kind of Joe. Now let's get on with the show.
Happy Kokomo Friday and welcome into Fantasy Baseball today on May 23rd. I am Frank Stampfl, joined by Scott White. Today on the show, George Kirby made his season debut. We got big games from Christian Yelich and Jose Altuve, which were definitely needed. Plus, we'll preview Week 10. But Scott, even before we get to the players of the night,
oh boy,
there is a reason for celebration.
Is
Because
there?
it is official. Ronald Acuña is back. Let's go.
Yeah.
So, he will be making his season debut on Friday against the Padres, nearly a year to the date that he suffered that torn ACL, May 26th of last year. He's back this year on May 23rd. And of course, baseball is better with Ronald Acuña. So you'll love to see the return. Scott, what are your immediate expectations for Acuña?
He's 7th in my outfield rankings. So I think there's an obvious top 6. And yes, I include Juan Soto in it. I know Mets fans will sneer at that, but it's going to be okay.
Juan Soto?
It's going to be okay, guys. I promise it's going to be okay. So I think there's a clear top 6. And then there are the first round types that have kind of disappointed us to this point, like Julio Rodriguez, Jackson Churio, Yordan Alvarez, of course, on the IL. And so I slot Ronald Acuña right in between, right in the middle of those two, because, you know, obviously he has number 1 at the position kind of upside, or let's say number 2 at the position, because I don't think there's any surpassing Aaron Judge at this point. But you want to be a little cautious coming off a torn ACL. The last time he came back from a torn ACL in the other knee, the opposite knee, mind you. But his production wasn't quite up to snuff. He was still like a must-start caliber player, but the power production especially was way down. That was in 2022. 119 games, 15 homers, 29 steals, only a 764 OPS. Like, good enough numbers to have him in the lineup, but clearly like he was a little off. You know, he didn't quite seem like himself. And he was playing through some pain, and he was in and out of the lineup sometimes. So it was a disappointment. But then he followed that up with the first and still only 40 homer, 70 steal season in history. So he eventually got over that hump. I feel like the Braves have been extra careful in bringing him along this time so that they avoid those issues that happened in the 2022 season. And he has looked great on his minor league rehab assignment. I heard on the Braves broadcast here Thursday that he had actually, if you count up all the plate appearances he got in extended spring training, which obviously we don't have stats for, but that's where he'd been prior to his minor league rehab assignment. If you add those up, he's seen more live pitching than any player actually playing during the season this year. So it's like rust. Obviously, it wasn't major league caliber pitching, but I don't think rust is going to be a major factor here for Acuña. So I'm expecting him to pretty much hit the ground running. Maybe he'll need the occasional off day early on. But I think he'll perform like a stud from the get-go. It's just a question of, will he immediately be back to that 40 homer, 70 steal guy? You know, I'd temper my expectations there, but a 30-30 pace the rest of the way, I'll put Acuña down for that.
So for some perspective here, rest of season projections on Fangraphs have him for they have him for 89 games, rest of season Ronald Acuña, between a 287 and 305 batting average. That's great. Between 15 and 20 home runs, and between 25 and 31 stolen bases.
I mean, they're even more aggressive with that projection than I am, and
projections are usually, pretty even keel, medium.
Yeah,
projections, but-
I just wonder if because that 40 homer, 70 steal season was so recent, if it's kind of building the projection around that.
Yeah.
Instead of maybe instead of what maybe a reasonable Ronald Acuña season looks like. But in any case, yeah, I think it'll be good.
One thing I thought about was maybe to try and buy low on other Braves hitters before they take off here. If they take off, it's not a guarantee, obviously.
Too late on Matt Olson.
Yeah, right. I was going to mention big games here for Matt Olson and Ozuna. Olson 3 for 5 with his 11th home run. Ozuna 3 for 4 with his 9th home run. So I don't know if you could buy low on those guys. Austin Riley's been a little up and down. I think, mostly underwhelming thus far. So maybe you could try him. Ozzy Albies and Michael Harris definitely have been off to slow starts. So names there, Scott, if you want to try and buy low before, like if Acuna is back and I don't know, anywhere close to who he was, like this lineup could just take off altogether.
Yeah, it could. I'm kind of expecting it to. Granted, I have this little Braves logo on my polo here that we'll talk about later, but yeah, it's look, it was a record-setting lineup with everybody healthy 2 years ago, and everybody's going to be healthy again.
So that is it. Welcome back to Ronald Acuña. Very excited to have him back in the mix. Let's get into our players of the night.
Oh my goodness gracious!
All right, Scott, kick us off. Your player of the night is...
It's Christian Yelich. Christian Yelich of Milwaukee Brewers fame. He had 2 home runs here. That puts him at 9 for the season. A pretty healthy total. He also has 8 steals on the season. Not bad. That, when you consider the Brewers have played, I think I looked it up just a minute ago. Was it 150 games? A little less than a third of a season, basically. So you project out those numbers for Christian Yelich. That's like basically a 30 homer, 25 steal pace, which of course nobody would complain about those specific numbers. But people have been complaining about Christian Yelich anyway, because there's some other stuff going on with him. For instance, even after this big game, he's batting 192 on the year. His strikeout rate is up, the highest we've seen him have. Well, I guess we'll throw out 2020. So the highest we've seen him have, period. 27% strikeout rate, 28 really. And more to the point, the ground ball rate is through the roof, over 60%. And I think that the combination of those two factors, but especially the ground balls, the fact he has a negative launch angle, I think is responsible for the low batting average and the overall feeling of disappointment you have with Christian Yelich. But a lot can change, even at this point in the season, even as we near the 1/3 point of the season. A lot can change very quickly. And so to demonstrate this, I will point out that head-to-head points leagues, Christian Yelich entered today with exactly the same number of points as Miguel Vargas. Not what you want to see. Not that Miguel Vargas has been terrible, but we want Christian Yelich to be surpassing him. He scored 16 points in this game, which vaults him all the way to Andy Pages in terms of overall fantasy production. So that's a very quick move up the ladder. And again, like I said, 30 homer, 25 steal pace. I think he's doing enough. I think he's doing enough that you shouldn't sweat it so much. Now, can I promise that he'll salvage this batting average between now and the end of the season? I can't. He's coming back from back surgery, and back surgery is not the most reliable. I was most worried that it would sap his power and his willingness to run, and clearly that's not the case. Again, 30 homer, 25 steal pace. But could it be contributing to him hitting the ball on the ground so much? It could be. It could be. I can't rule it out. I don't really know. But it's a fine hypothesis. that will need to improve. He'll have to get that ground ball rate down some, I think, to live up to our expectations entirely. But in the meantime, he's doing enough that I think you just wait it out.
I think from a head-to-head points perspective, the way that you laid it out, like you can live with the bad batting average if he's getting on base and obviously the power and speed and everything. But from a Roto League perspective, man, entering Thursday, 175th overall player for Christian Yelich. And obviously a lot of that is just the batting average pulling him down, because I agree with you. Like even the counting stats, the power, the speed, everything is fine. It's just the batting average, the OPS is terrible right now for Yelich. So he's got some work to do. Previous 9 games before this one, he was batting .086, 1 extra base hit, a 29% strikeout rate, and a 71% ground ball rate. So both of those things need to get lower. Will they? I'm not sure. Maybe he's compromised because of the back, which you mentioned. And I think that's fair. Obviously, it's not completely sapping him because he's managed to hit 9 home runs at this point. But we just need more consistency, more line drives, I guess. Just let's get that batting average up for Christian Yelich. But I totally understand why people have been before this game pretty frustrated with Yelich. My player or players of the night, Scott. I'm going to cheat a little bit here. The Angels. How about just all the Angels? They've won 7 in a row. Didn't even realize. Looked at the standings. All right, 7 in a row for the Angels. They are now tied with the Rangers. They are only 4 games back in the AL West. But in particular, Taylor Ward and Logan O'Hoppe are on fire. Logan O'Hoppe 2 for 5 with his 14th home run. He has multiple hits in 5 of his last 6 games. He has 5 home runs in his last 6 games. And overall, up to a .275 batting average, 14 homers, 29 RBI, and an .865 OPS. Obviously, the strikeouts are too high. Probably expect the batting average to come down a little bit. But as we just said yesterday, he hits the ball really hard. He optimizes it for power. And so I think maybe Chris made this comp the other day, like a poor man's Cal Raleigh for Logan O'Hoppe. Like, I don't think that's crazy. I mean, he's not going to walk as much as Raleigh, but just to be able to get, I don't know, 25-ish home runs. I mean, he's on a better pace than that right now. I mean, maybe he approaches 30 home runs. So,
I mean, he's a poor man's Cal Raleigh if you're looking at 3 categories. And mainly home runs and batting average, possibly RBI as well. But the walks are kind of a big deal. Like they're on opposite ends of the spectrum as far as how much they walk. So that impacts runs. It has a huge impact on points league value apart from that. I mean, I don't think he's going to hit 45 home runs this year. That's the kind of pace he's on. So I would guess he's gotten close to half his season total already. And so just by definition, then that makes him sell high. Logan O'Hoppe we're talking about. And given the state of catcher this year, where there have been so many emerging options at the position from, I can't remember the Cardinals guy, Ivan Herrera, to Drake Baldwin, to Agustin Ramirez, to Hunter Goodman. I think if you happened into one of them while originally investing in O'Hoppe is the one I would rather trade right now. So I don't know. That's from a practical standpoint, that's the only conversation I feel is worth having. If O'Hoppe's the only good catcher you have, obviously you're going to start him and you're not going to trade him. But if you happen to have an extra catcher and it's one of those I just listed off, I like their upside more than O'Hoppe's.
I think I have O'Hoppe at 11. He's behind Herrera, but I have him ahead of Agustin Ramirez, ahead of Hunter Goodman. Yeah, I just trust the quality of contact here. I mean, 98th percentile barrel rate, 82nd percentile average exit velocity. That's
what was his barrel rate last year?
Let's see.
You know how I feel about barrel rate, Frank.
I know you hate it. 81st percentile. It's still really good.
Pretty good. Yeah.
So I think the power is absolutely legit. So yeah.
It's just how much. Like he hit 20 homers last year. I think he'll finish with more than 20 homers. He's at 14 now. But you don't think he's going to hit 45 homers? Come
No,
on. Give
no,
me a number, Frank. Give me a number. How many does he finish with?
28.
Then he's like, you should be more pessimistic than I am.
But
He's
that's
gotten halfway there already.
It's a great season from a catcher, though.
Yeah, but yes. But if that's honestly how you feel, you have to consider what he's banked to this point. And that leaves only 14 more for 4 months. That's fine. You could live with that as your catcher. It's fine. But it obviously means his value is at a higher point now than it's going to be over the next 4 months.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, yes, from that perspective, you could sell high, but I'm
glad.
Maybe I'm selling him low. Maybe he gets 30, 35. I don't know. We'll see. The other name here is Taylor Ward, who went 3 for 5 with a grand slam, his 14th home run of the season. Last 16 games for Taylor Ward, a .313 batting average, 8 home runs, 24 RBI, an OPS over 1100, 93 mile per hour average exit velocity. He is crushing it. The overall batting average is still a little bit lower just because he got off to such a bad start. It's .225, but everything else, the power, the counting stats, OPS creeping up around 800 now. 60% rostered, Scott. As hot as Taylor Ward is, that number's got to be higher.
Yeah, it does. It does. And he's on my sleeper hitters for this week. We'll get to that later in the show. Also, when we talk about my polo.
He was on your sleeper hitters for this current week, right?
Yeah, the current week. So chalk that one up for the big guy, which I guess is me. I don't know why I'm the big guy, but here's the thing though about Taylor Ward is we've been down this road a few times with him. I mean, it's sort of like with Logan O'Hoppe. He's at 14 already. Is he going to hit 45? No. What's Taylor Ward's career high in home runs? It's 20 something, 25 is his career high. He'll probably set a career high. I am willing to say that much for him because he's banked so many already. But again, we've been down this road enough times to know how it goes with Taylor Ward. The overall numbers end up being decent with 20 to 25 homers and OPS around 750, a batting average that isn't great but won't kill you. They end up being decent. But it's because there are a couple of massive hot searches during the season, usually confined to the very beginning and end of the season, usually like an April, September thing. Go look at the career splits if you don't believe me. A couple of just like enormous hot streaks that allow him to finish with numbers like that. And then it's a desert the rest of the time. Which doesn't mean it'll always be so, I guess. But the fact that he's having one of those patented Taylor Ward hot streaks right now makes me feel like I'm watching the same movie, So I don't know when the right time is to pawn him off. When he's 60% rostered, that ain't it. But if he does get up to like 90% rostered and hasn't fallen into a massive funk yet, I think you look to shop Taylor Ward at that point.
Yeah, I mean, just hope to kind of catch lightning in a bottle here and keep riding this out as long as he's.
That's the advice when he's 60% rostered. Yep.
Yeah, for sure. All right, wanted to give a shout out to Jose Altuve, who also woke up 2 for 4 with a double dong, 4 RBI. These were his first home runs and first RBI of May on May 22nd. So he was he was in a deep little funk himself there. Jose Altuve is. And Chris and I spoke about him on an upcoming podcast because we will not be live on Sunday night due to Memorial Day weekend. We have a podcast coming out on Monday morning, breaking down 10 struggling hitters and whether or not we expect them to bounce back. Well, Jose Altuve, I guess not struggling anymore. So scratch off anything we said about him, but we will be live again on Monday night to break down the long weekend. So if you're looking for a Sunday, we won't be here. There will still be a podcast that comes out. 10 struggling hitters, Altuve and Michael Harris, and I don't know, a whole bunch of names, Gunnar Henderson and Brian Reynolds. So look forward to that. Big thanks to those watching us live. Make sure to hit the like button and subscribe on the YouTube channel if you haven't already. Let's take a break, and we'll be back right after this.
When you need your sports news all the time,
We've got breaking news to bring to you.
CBS Sports HQ gives you a snapshot of all the sports that matter to you. When you need your sports in a snap, find it on CBS Sports HQ, streaming free anywhere you are.
Welcome back in Fantasy Baseball today. The news and notes. Julio Rodriguez was a late scratch due to back tightness. Manager Dan Wilson said J-Rod is day-to-day, which is rough timing with a division series against the Astros right now. So pay attention if you play in any NFBC leagues where you set the lineup for the weekend as well. I'm not sure that Julio Rodriguez will be available for that. The Astros placed Ronel Blanco on the IL due to right elbow inflammation, and he is seeking a second opinion, Scott, which is always pretty ominous.
Yeah, it is. It doesn't necessarily mean anything. Like I have my guard up. I think that's fair, but we don't know anything other than he has elbow inflammation yet. It going for a second opinion would suggest that either they can't see through the inflammation well enough to know if there's more going on, or that some doctor told them something they didn't like and they're hoping to get a better answer from the other doctor. So, we just got to wait to find out. Ronel Blanco has followed up his unexpected breakout last year with a pretty solid start to this year and has looked especially good lately. So it would be a disappointment, obviously, if it turns out to be a longer term issue, as we saw it with Hayden Wesneski from the same rotation. Out with Tommy John surgery now.
Brian Wu was struck by a foul ball in the dugout and was seen walking around gingerly, and it's not like this, anything but this. I mean, he's managed to stay healthy, nothing arm related, and boom, the guy gets hit by a foul ball. What is going on? After the game, the team did say that Brian Wu is expected to make his scheduled start on Saturday, which sounds like he's okay, hopefully. Mike Trout said that he had no soreness after jogging on the field Monday. We're still waiting for him to return. Bruce Bochy said it will be another 7 to 10 days before Corey Seager is activated from the IL. He is out for a second time with that hamstring strain. Gleyber Torres left Thursday's game due to lower right leg discomfort. Monitor that, obviously having a nice bounce back season thus far. Bryce Miller said he will throw a simulated game Friday and will operate on a 6-day routine moving forward. He believes if all goes well, he will avoid a rehab assignment. Justin Martinez has a good chance to return this weekend. He is 61% rostered, and assuming he's good to go, Scott, it seems like Justin Martinez would just step right into the closer role.
Yeah, I mean, maybe they give him an appearance or two in a lower leverage spot just to make sure all systems are go. But yeah, it's been rough without him, so I'm sure they're anxious to have him back at the end of games.
Carlos Correa is expected to return from the concussion IL on Friday. The Guardians reinstated Elaine Thomas from the IL. He's been out the past month with a bone bruise in his right wrist. 42% rostered. Got any interest in Elaine Thomas?
Very low level roto interest. It kind of depends how much he plays, because he wasn't playing that regularly early this season. And I mean, the Guardians offense needs help, but I don't know that he is help. I don't know that they think he's help at this point with the bat. But if he plays regularly, there's obviously 30 steal upside and at least 15 to 20 homer upside. So depending how badly you need steals in a 5 outfielder roto league, you might take a flyer on Lane Thomas.
And to your point about their offense not being great and needing help, I think I saw Chase DeLauter recently made his AAA debut. He's dealt with so many injuries, had another one this year, but if DeLauter hits well at AAA, he's someone we could see up with the Guardians soon. Maybe, I don't know, summer months.
Yeah, hopefully. Been waiting a long time for him.
Oh, yeah. Reese Olson threw on flat ground on Thursday, his first time since going on the IL with inflammation in his right ring finger. Chase Dolander was placed in the IL with right forearm tightness. Doesn't sound great. It appears that Sean Murphy might be falling into a short side platoon, Scott. Gosh, the way this has evolved just so quickly. Drake Baldwin has started 5 games in a row versus a right-handed pitcher. Now things change. Maybe it's just riding the hot hand, but I mean, the fact that Baldwin has prospect pedigree and he's a left-handed bat and Sean Murphy is a right-handed bat. I don't think that they're just going to settle for Sean Murphy in a short side platoon, but maybe I'm wrong.
Well, Brian Snitker has said that he's taking it series to series. So, I think a lot of it depends on who's hitting the best at the moment. But they're not going to bury Murphy, obviously. He's a very good defensive catcher. They're paying him a healthy sum of money. It's just, if a lot of it's about riding the hot hand, it's hard to get much hotter than Drake Baldwin has been since the start of April. Because remember, he was 1 for 15 to begin his major league career. So that was March, basically. But since the start of April, he entered this game Thursday batting .420 with 5 home runs. Drake Baldwin, like, you don't get any hotter than that.
Yeah. No, I get why it's happening. It's just, as somebody who has Sean Murphy in a few 2-catcher leagues, God, it doesn't feel great right now.
I think you hold on to him in 2-catcher leagues, but it is he's probably not a 1-catcher option as long as Baldwin remains healthy and producing.
Christian Encarnacion Strand began a rehab assignment in the Arizona Complex League on Thursday. He's been out since April 17th with lower back inflammation. 36% rostered. Any interest in Christian Encarnacion Strand?
There's upside, but there have been so many emerging upside plays at first base that it would have to be a pretty deep league, I think, or it'd have to be in a pretty desperate spot at first base to justify the roster spot for him. I think in most leagues, it's wait and see how it goes for Encarnacion Strand.
All right. Tyro Estrada was sent to AAA to begin a rehab assignment. He's 13% rostered, and we mentioned him the other day. If you need a middle infielder in a roto league, a deeper league, I think he is a name you can look at. The A's are promoting outfield prospect Denzel Clark, who is 25 years old, a 4th-round pick in 2021. 31 games at AAA this year. He hit .286 with a .436 on base, 0 home runs, 7 steals. Some interesting exit velocities. Last year, it was 13 homers, 36 steals. So clearly there are tools here, Scott. There's a little bit of power, a lot of speed, great fielder, major questions about the hit tool. I don't know that he's going to just be an everyday player for the Athletics, but anything to know about Denzel Clark? Any interest here?
Yeah, I'm interested. Not sure he's worth adding in fantasy outside of AL only at this point, but like the profile is interesting because he walks a ton and he hits the ball plenty hard. Max EV at AAA was 115. Few players are capable of that. Average was about 90, which is fine, but he hits the ball hard. He had 0 home runs there because he's been putting the ball on the ground at about a 70% rate. So he has adopted this kind of slash and burn style of hitting Denzel Clark has this year. And with the high walk rate, like, I don't know if he wants to be a leadoff man or what, but it cut a lot of the exit velocity is being wasted right now. In previous years, the ground ball rate wasn't nearly as high. So I have hope that Denzel Clark.
Denzel Washington. Let's go. Pick him up.
Woo! Yeah, I have hope that Denzel Clark figures this out, but nobody's listening to me anymore because they're just laughing at my Freudian slip there.
And the Angels traded Ryan Noda to the Red Sox in exchange for cash. Perhaps he'll get some run at first base. Welcome back to George Kirby. Not a great return here at the Astros. 3 2/3, 6 hits, 5 runs, 1 walk, 4 strikeouts, had 9 whiffs on 72 pitches. I think even more than the results, we just want to see him get through a couple starts healthy, make sure the velocity is there and everything looks okay. I will mention, Scott, the pitch mix was completely different here. So what do you think about George Kirby's return?
Well, I don't know what to think. Like the velocity was good. It was fine. The control was good. It was fine. He threw 68% strikes. That's so much looked fine that I'm scratching my head over why the result was so bad. You said the pitch mix was vastly different. I think part of that is StatCast was calling his slider a cutter in this one. It has the characteristics of the slider: velocity, spin rate, movement. I think it just got it wrong, and he hasn't suddenly introduced a cutter that he barely threw last year. It was just his normal breaking ball, or his main breaking ball. What was different about this start for George Kirby is he really leaned on the sinker. He threw it 53% of the time and only 6% four-seamers. Could there be some kind of classification issue going on there? I guess it's possible, but it's not as obvious looking at the other pitch characteristics. It seems to me like Kirby just was fading his four-seamer for some reason, and that's his best pitch. It was most thrown last year. It had his best whiff rate, which you hardly ever see the four-seamer be a pitcher's best whiff pitch. So I don't know what was going on with that. The usage was normal on his rehab assignment. There wasn't any weird things going on with sinker four-seamer usage there. So I don't know why it happened here in his first start back from the IL or how legitimate it is, like I said. But I don't like it. I hope it goes away next time, George Kirby. You got too good of a four-seamer to shelf it like that.
Mm-hmm. And he
shelf it, not shelf it.
According to StatCast, threw 13% changeups and no splitters. It is a possibility that's also a classification thing, but if that's accurate, George Kirby did not throw a changeup at all last season, and his splitter has actually been a really good pitch for him the past couple of years. He doesn't throw it that much, usually, 10% of the time, but threw a different changeup, it looks like, here as well. So just looked like a very different pitcher, George Kirby, in his first outing out. Let's see, we got a few starts under our belt here and kind of see how the pitch mix evolves, but it was a curious one for George Kirby. He is 32% started right now on CBS. Scott, would you use him next week against the Nationals? It is in T-Mobile, which obviously is a great place to pitch.
I would hope I didn't have to, but I would be okay with it if it was obviously the best option. If it was Kirby or some scrub who I halfway expected to have a blow up start, I'd just stick with Kirby.
All right, let's talk about Tanner Bibee. Is he back? 7 shutout innings, 3 hits, 1 walk, 8 strikeouts, a season high there, 14 whiffs on 96 pitches. It was his first time over 5 strikeouts all season and threw more sweepers and curves. Really noticed that he just completely mixed it up. I mean, he threw 6 different pitches between 10% and 34% usage. Last year, Bibee really just leaned on 3 main pitches, the fastball, the cutter, changeup. So I wonder if this is part of his evolution as a pitcher or he's just trying to figure how to get his whiffs back. What'd you think?
I was not sure what to make of this one either. Yeah, I'm a lot of help tonight, aren't I? Because there wasn't a lot. So which pitcher are you saying is new?
No new pitches, but he just mixed everything up more between 10% and 30. Like he would throw pitches very sparingly, these, 4th, 5th, 6th options last year. But now he's just, 6 different pitches between 10 and 34%. It's just, he's really mixing it up. He's doing kind of like a Seth Lugo thing. Okay.
Yeah, I hadn't compared this year's usage to last year when I was looking at Tanner Bibee's start to figure out what was different. I was comparing this year's usage to today's usage, if that makes sense. And what I saw there was fewer cutters, more sweepers, but not dramatically so, and not in a way that you look at the characteristics of the pitches and you're like, oh, that makes perfect sense. Bibee should just keep doing that and he'll be fine. It was a good start. And I think he's a good pitcher. And he should have been having good starts all along. I don't know. I don't know what to make of it. I think you should be encouraged if you have Tanner Bibee. I know nobody's dropped him. At least I should hope not. But I can't say anything conclusively here. Like he's fixed it, and here's why. I don't know for sure. I would just bet on him fixing it, given the caliber of pitcher he is.
Yeah. Last 6 starts, by the way, for Tanner Bibee, including this one, 2.37 ERA and a 1.05 WHIP. So he quietly has been okay, but this was clearly his best start of the season. Only 28 strikeouts over 38 innings during that stretch as well. So we do need more strikeouts. His swinging strike rate just 8% this year, 12% last year, 14 swinging strikes in this start. Let's hope that this kind of propels him towards more whiffs in the future. Let's stick with the pitchers, and there was a duel out in New York.
It's time to duel.
Nathan Eovaldi up against Carlos Rodon, and Eovaldi 6 innings, 1 run, 6 strikeouts here, only 9 whiffs on 105 pitches. He has just been money all season. 3 earned runs or fewer in all 11 starts, 1 earned run or fewer in 6 straight for Nathan Eovaldi. And Carlos Rodon, 6 shutout innings, 8 strikeouts, 16 whiffs on 105 pitches. And overall, the slider and changeup have just been awesome for him this season. And he's throwing his fastball with less velocity. I wonder if he's able to locate it better as a result. But because it's not getting hit nearly as hard. I mean, this is just the best that the overall pitch mix and package of pitches has looked for Carlos Rodon since joining the Yankees. Scott, anything else to add on him and Nathan Eovaldi?
Yeah, what's also curious about Rodon is you say maybe he's locating his pitches better. Well, his strike rate is the lowest it's been since 2019, before he was really a fantasy asset of any kind. That doesn't mean he's not locating better. Like, he could be staying out of the strike zone more on purpose, like he's doing exactly what he wants to do. Clearly it's working for him. And there are some underlying changes here, and there's enough of a track record of success for Carlos Rodon that I'm taking it seriously. He's inside my top 30 pitchers for the rest of the season. He might have top 15 type of upside. I'm being a little cautious, but top 30 is nothing to sneeze at. So is Eovaldi. Eovaldi is in my top 30 pitchers as well. And that might surprise some people that I'm giving. I don't know. Maybe it shouldn't, because obviously here almost a third of the way into the season, Eovaldi still sporting an ERA. It's below 2, right? Still
160.
Yeah, it's been great. And it's great that long. Like, you kind of look like an idiot if you don't budge in your rankings on him. But I like to have actual reasons for it beyond that. And even though Nathan Eovaldi's 35, even though he's never had an ERA below 3.63, he did have a 3.39 ERA in 2013 with the Marlins, but that was so long. Like, nobody even remembers Eovaldi pitch for the Marlins, so that doesn't count. He's never had an ERA below 3.63. And you wouldn't expect a 35-year-old to have a breakout like he's doing different things. He has this curveball it's been his best pitch this year, and it's has a different shape, and it's a pitch that it just looks like it's different for him, and it seems like it's brought his whole arsenal together. And I think that might explain why Eovaldi's having so much success, even as the velocity's lower. That had always been kind of the problem for Eovaldi, is he'd dominate for stretches and then he'd lose velocity for a while and just get pounded. But he's operated at that lower velocity this year and had more success than he's ever had. So it may be the very rare age 35 breakout here for Eovaldi. I think that's a realistic possibility.
And I do wonder if this was something that they wanted to do with not just Jacob deGrom, but also Nathan Eovaldi, is lower that fastball velocity. And, look, typically we don't want less velocity, but how can you argue with the results, right? I mean, it's, he's down 1.4 miles per hour on the fastball this season, but he's throwing that pitch less. He's mixing in those secondaries more. That curveball, which you mentioned, has been so great for Nathan Eovaldi. So, yeah, he looks very clearly a top 30 pitcher. I have him in that range as well. And I mean, there is an argument for him to be ranked even higher. It's just, can he make it through a full season? That is one of the biggest questions.
I'm looking and I'm seeing now his arm angle's lower this year too. This is kind of a newer stat available on StatCast that I don't have a lot of familiarity with, but it had been 32, 33 degrees the past 3 years. It's down to 30. Earlier in his career, it was way up. So it's been trending down over the course of his career, but it's at a low point here at 30 degrees. And, that might have something to do with the success too.
All right, let's take our final break. And when we return, we'll talk a little waiver options and week 10 preview. We'll do all of that right after this.
Here we go. The 2025 CBS Sports NFL schedule is here. 18 glorious Sundays.
He's got his receiver touchdown.
Filled with rematches.
Oh, the play of the year.
And rivalries.
Touchdown, Bengals.
Plus, plenty of superstar showdowns. And an epic matchup between the Chiefs and Cowboys on Thanksgiving. Clear your Sundays beginning September 7th for the NFL on CBS and Paramount Plus.
Welcome back in Fantasy Baseball today. Let's take a look at some waiver wire hitters from Thursday's action, and mostly deep league names here, Scott. We had Gavin Sheets with a big game, 3 for 5 with a double dong and 5 RBI. He continues his breakout season, mid-career breakout with the Padres as well. Addison Barger continues to impress, 3 for 4 with 2 walks, and in his last 12 games with the Blue Jays, 356 batting average, 2 homers, 8 RBI, 1 steal, and OPS near 1,000. Spencer Horwitz, a nice game here with the Pirates, 2 for 5 with his first home run. Solid season with the Blue Jays last year. Good eye at the plate, makes a lot of contact. And a nice debut for Robert Hassel of the Nationals, 2 for 5 with 2 runs and his first stolen base. He had 2 hard hits in that game as well. 11% rostered. Scott, are you rushing out to add any of these names? I think more so in deeper leagues.
Yeah, there are platoon issues here for most of them. Certainly for Gavin Sheets. Addison Barger. It's been a long stretch of the Blue Jays facing only righties. So who knows? Maybe by the time they face a lefty again, he'll be. They didn't face a lefty today, did they? Because that'll make me feel dumb. No, they didn't. So yeah, maybe he's done enough that by the time they finally face a lefty, the last one was May 7th. They'll want to put Barger in the lineup. But to this point, that hasn't been something they're willing to do. So that kind of limits his appeal to those very deep leagues, but he's hitting the ball extremely hard, whether you're talking average or max exit velocity. The strikeout rate is respectable. The expected batting average and the expected slug, 286 and 507. So he looks like a real hitter, Addison Barger. Sheets, I don't think he's going to overcome the platoon situation in San Diego, so that limits his appeal quite a bit. Hassel, we still don't really know the playing time situation for him. They have Alex Call, who they've liked to give playing starts to from time to time, and he was out of the lineup to let Hassel in. But he looks fast. I watched that game. He can motor. That is something Hassel does well. And Horwitz, I don't really know that he has the power upside we're looking for at first base. He is also eligible at second base, at least for the rest of this year. I doubt that'll be something that carries over to next year. And so maybe Horwitz can turn into, I guess, kind of a Jake Cronenworth type between first and second base with 15 to 20 homer upside. But if that's what he's aspiring to, and we don't think he's like a lock for that kind of production yet, yeah, there's just not that much interest there.
All right, on the pitching side of things, Scott, just 2 names, and I don't think there's much interest, but I'll ask anyway. Luis Severino, quality start against the Angels, 6 innings, 2 runs, 5 strikeouts, 0 walks. Severino kind of feels like a matchups play at this point. He's at the Astros next week, so I don't know. I don't hate the matchup, but I don't love it either. Aaron Eovaldi was okay in his return to the Brewers rotation. He was at the Pirates, 4 innings, 2 runs, 3 strikeouts. Velocity was up between 1 and 1.5 miles per hour on almost all of his pitches, so that was nice to see, but Another name that kind of just feels like a streamer type here, Savali.
Yeah, and I'm not even willing to say go ahead and stream him for Zavali yet. I mean, it was against the Pirates, and he didn't go 5 innings. And yeah, I need to see more from Savali to even call him a streamer. Severino's a streamer, sure, and the matchups are right. Not a bad choice to use. Not really a strikeout pitcher anymore, and doesn't get ground balls at a particularly high rate, which could be a problem pitching half his games in Sacramento. But he can be efficient. He can work deep into games. It could be another Jameson Tyone situation. And, pay attention to what his matchups are.
All right, let's get into the Week 10 preview. Now it's time for our weekly preview brought to you by Travis Matthew, apparel designed for confidence and comfort no matter where the day takes you. And let's take a look at the schedule for next week. Lots of games, 28 teams with 6 games, 2 teams with 7. We have the Rays and Blue Jays. I did not check out the Rockies, Scott.
They're on the road. On the road all week. Little Rocky Road action.
Yeah. Well, use your pitchers against them, that's for sure. But definitely not looking for any of their hitters. We usually aren't anyway. Starter sit these 2-star pitchers. And Spencer Strider, did he lose his second start for this week, Scott?
He did because of that rain out on Wednesday.
Gosh.
So we're obligated to use him again. Another 2 starts coming up.
At the Phillies, home against the Red Sox?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you're playing him?
I mean, you'd hate to give up 20 strikeouts there.
Yeah.
Not that that's guaranteed by any means. It's a gamble. I don't have Spencer Strider in the must-start tier of the 2-star pitcher rankings, but he is at the next tier, which is advisable in most cases. I wish it wasn't the case that he was making 2 starts this week. I wish that game hadn't got rained out. We could have seen a second start before he made a decision on Strider in week 10, and it would have only been for 1 start.
Yeah.
But if ifs and buts were candy and nuts, we'd all have a Merry Christmas.
Gavin Williams is home against the Dodgers and Angels.
Yeah, I will lean yes on that, especially since the Angels are the second most strikeout prone lineup in baseball, and Williams has been getting a bunch of those lately. Dodgers matchup is scary, though.
Yeah. What about Taj Bradley, who faces the Twins and at the Astros?
That one I'm probably leaving for points leagues. I think there's too much downside risk for Roto.
Nick Martinez at the Royals and at the Cubs.
Again, one good matchup, one bad. He is RP eligible, so that gives Nick Martinez an advantage in points leagues. And I think that's the only sort of league I'd want to start him in. I know his previous start against, was it the Pirates or the White Sox? A really good matchup. And he turned in a good outing, but the strike rate was back down to like 58%, which is just not going to work for Nick Martinez. So I'm a little skeptical of the good work he's done recently.
What about JP Sears at the Astros and at the Blue Jays?
Yeah, the fly ball rate giveth and the fly ball rate taketh away, and lately it's tooketh away from Sears. Some bad outings recently, which is why I think you leave him for points leagues.
All right, who are some 2-star pitchers that you are looking to add and stream for next week?
I am looking to add and stream, not just for next week, but forevermore. The top 2 on the list, Hayden Birdsong and Ryan Weathers, both about 60% rostered. Way too low given their upside and what they've shown in their brief time in the rotation this year. So Hayden Birdsong has the better matchups this week at Detroit, and they've technically scored a lot of runs, but it's really more that he's facing Marlins in the second turn, Birdsong. And he did everything we wanted to see over 5 innings in his first outing. So I think Birdsong is a good call. Weathers, the fastball has played, since coming back from the IL, the fastball is played like it was in spring training, up a couple miles per hour, a couple extra inches of induced vertical break. And His first 2 outings were on the shorter end, but he gave up just 1 run in each against the Cubs both times. So if he could do that against the Cubs, just imagine what he's going to do. Well, the matchups are kind of tough too, Padres and Giants, but they're not as bad as the Cubs is the point. So you got to get Weathers in there. Let's see. Jameson Taillon gets the Rockies on the road, meaning in Chicago. And he gets the Reds on the road, meaning in Chicago, not in Cincinnati, notably because that's a homer-friendly park. And Taillon is vulnerable to home runs. So I think he's a fine play with those matchups. Eric Fetty, don't trust him any further than I can throw him. And I couldn't even throw him an inch because he probably weighs more than me. But he gets the Orioles and the Rangers, and they are both bottom 6 offenses, believe it or not. So I think Fetty might just pull through with those matchups.
All right. What about the 1-star streamers? I see some pretty lots of picking on the Rockies here. I like it.
Yes, that is the theme. We have the 2-star Taillon. Some 1-star pitchers going against the Rockies are these aren't necessarily at the top of the list, but David Peterson and Cade Horton I have among my 10 streamer pitchers. Peterson has started to work deeper into games. He's managed to keep the runs low all along because of a near 60% ground ball rate. Horton introduced that changeup in his last start against the Marlins, got a lot more whiffs, even though the overall result was questionable. I think he's trending the right direction, and I love picking on the Rockies outside of Coors Field. 1-star streamers that I like even more, Drew Rasmussen gets the injury-depleted Twins lineup. Dustin May gets the Guardians, who have not been very good offensively this year. And I'm kind of surprised Dustin May is only 70% rostered and qualifies for this list. I think the 2-4 record has something to do with it. That record's going to get flipped with the Dodgers backing up May. I have a lot of confidence in that. Tyler McGill gets the White Sox. He's got almost 13K per 9, and yet nobody's buying into him because his outings are so short. I think I'll go at least 5 against the White Sox and maybe get double-digit strikeouts again. And Luis Ortiz has turned into a great bat misser with the Guardians. They did it again. And he gets the Angels, who have the second most strikeouts of any team. I think I hit everybody there, right? Yeah, those are the 1-star streamers.
All right, let's slide over to the hitters and the best matchups for next week. We have the Orioles, Mets, D-backs, Padres, and Cardinals. The worst hitter matchups, Phillies, Pirates, Red Sox, Athletics, and Tigers. Scott, who are the sleeper hitters for week number 10?
So you heard all those favorable matchups, and they're not going to get mentioned again because basically all the sleeper hitters for this week are just hitters who are way too available, not necessarily the ones with the best matchups, but they're like the worst matchups aren't really that bad for the typical week. There are a lot of hitter matchups that are just kind of in the middle. So matchups weren't a big differentiator here. These hitters are just undervalued by and large. Austin Hayes, only 58% roster. That's ridiculous. He's been amazing in between IL stints and facing 2 injury-depleted rotations this week, Royals and Cubs. So I think you got to get him not just rostered, but not just streamed, but like just on your roster, period. TJ Friedl, the Reds leadoff hitter, also gets to take advantage of those matchups. And Will Benson, who actually has 12 homers between the majors and minors this year, and has looked great since being called up. He has not played against lefties, but there's only one on the schedule for the Reds. So I think Will Benson, he's the 10th hitter here, but he's definitely worth mentioning. Others higher on the list, we got Rhys Hoskins, who's like slashing 300, 400, 500 on the year. I don't know why he's as available as he is. He's been great. Taylor Ward, we talked about him. Jake Berger is called up and he's been hot. I think Jonathan Aranda, he's on one of the 2 teams playing 7 games, the Rays. And there's just one lefty on the schedule. I wish the matchups were better. There's some tough pitchers there for the Rays. But if you're gonna, if Aranda, if we can't play Aranda during the weeks where he's facing 6 lefties, then there's just not much of a point.
You mean 6 righties?
6 righties, yeah. There's just not much of a point. You have to take advantage of those weeks, regardless of how tough the pitchers are. Ryan O'Hearn, Orioles have the very best hitter matchups, all righties. So Hearn, you got to play. Gurriel's had a good May. The Diamondbacks have the third best matchups. That's Lourdes Gurriel. Matt Shaw has looked good since returning from the minors. The Cubs matchups are pretty good. 3 games against the Rockies pitching staff in particular. So I think it's not a bad time to try out Shaw again, maybe get a little power speed combo working this week.
All right, that was the weekly preview brought to you by Travis Matthew Apparel, designed for confidence and comfort no matter where the day takes you. Big fan of Travis Matthew. I am wearing this Cloud Waffle Collection shirt here. It's one of the most comfy shirts that I have ever worn. It's like a thermal, but even better. It's just more. It's like a thermal and a sweater had a baby, and this is what popped out.
So like you're wearing a cloud.
Yes, exactly that.
Yeah.
I love the polo too that you're rocking. You got the Braves logo on the side there. I've got mine with the Yankee logo. It feels great. It looks great. So for any, obviously people listening, you're a baseball fan, there's an MLB collection over on the website for Travis Matthew that I encourage many people to check out. Big thanks to Travis Matthew for making clothes for any occasion that are not only comfy, but stylish as well. Let's wrap up with some leftovers here, Scott. And on the hitting side of things, Trey Turner is running more this season. He swiped another bag on Thursday. He's up to 12 in 48 games. That is a 40 stolen base pace. We also would like more power. He's only got 3 home runs, but at least he's running. I guess that's the positive for him. Zach Neto will not stop. 3 for 5 with 2 runs scored. And I saw this tweet from the Underdog MLB account. Zach Neto over his last 162 games, 30 homers, 34 steals, 91 runs, 87 RBI. That's pretty awesome for Zach Neto. And Brent Rooker had himself a big game at 3 for 4 with his 11th home run. And I kind of like the idea of trying to buy Rooker now, Scott. It's not really a buy low. He's been okay. It's like a buy medium, I guess you could say. But the expected stats look great. And I really do think that as the weather heats up in Sacramento, I think the ball's just going to fly out of there.
Could be. Yeah, the expected stats look even better. So at least the expected batting average even better than last year. The strikeout rate is down below 25% for the year when it was up near 30 last year. I remember that was my biggest concern with Rooker coming in. It's, it could go back. He could have a bad week of strikeouts and suddenly that strikeout rate is back up to where it was last year. But it is, you'd rather see it lower than higher, and it's lower right now. So for the most part, I feel pretty good about Rooker. Trey Turner, I keep finding excuses to put shortstops ahead of him in my rest of season rankings. First it was O'Neal Cruz, now it's CJ Abrams. I don't want to move Turner down necessarily, but I think of those 3 players, the power concerns are clearest for Turner. And so while I still think he's a great asset and valuable in many ways, I'm not so confident that he's just going to deliver his usual 20 to 25 home runs, only 3 so far.
Yeah. Might be more like 15 homers. The shape of the production might be different this year. 15 homers, but if he can approach 40 steals, that obviously is really valuable. And, of the names you mentioned, he's probably going to provide the best batting average, I would say, right? Trey Turner.
Yeah, though I know CJ Abrams hasn't been a great source of batting average to this point. If the pull air rate continues the power production we've seen so far, and if he maintains the lower strikeout rate, I think CJ Abrams could end up being more of a help than a hindrance in batting average.
All right, what about the pitching leftovers? Ranger Suarez looked great in Coors Field, 6 2/3 shutout with 6 strikeouts. He had a rough first start against the D-backs where he gave up 7 earned runs, but since then, 3 quality starts in a row, 2 of those 7 innings. So Ranger Suarez looks back on track. Jack Flaherty, a quality start against the Guardians, 6 2/3, 3 runs with 8 strikeouts. And Scott, what happened? AJ Smith-Shawver, your boy, he got rocked at the Nationals. 3 innings, 7 hits, 3 walks to 1 strikeout, 11 hard hits allowed in this one. Woof.
Yeah. I mean, they just clearly had his number. And I don't this can happen sometimes So Smith-Shawver dominated in his previous start against the Nationals, and he comes right back and is facing the exact same lineup, and they have too good of a read on him. And that could be a problem if it continues over the course of his career. Like you have to, once the scouting reports, the film gets out on you, players get a look at you, and you don't have that element of surprise going for you anymore. You have to figure out a way to work around that. And that might be the next hurdle in Smith-Shawver's development. It hasn't been like across the board clear telltale signs of breakout for Smith-Shawver. He had been trending the right direction. His last few starts, it seemed like each one was better than the last. And just watching him pitch, I mean, the upside is obvious, but it's not like I'm not so sold on it being a breakout for Smith-Shawver that if he follows up this start with another one just like it, I think we're back to discussing maybe dropping at that point. So hopefully he bounces back from this one.
Yeah, I mean, the walks have been a problem here. I noticed the fastball gets hit really hard for Smith-Shawver as well. The splitter and curve look like really, really good pitches for him. I wonder if maybe he should move a little bit away from that fastball. Not completely abandon it, but maybe mixing those secondary pitches more. Yeah.
Yeah, he does throw the fastball a lot. I'm trying to see if I jotted down what the usage was in this one. 46% fastball. That's not as many as I thought, but
yeah.
But it could be
if you
less.
live in the 35% range, something like that might help him out. Call to the bullpen for the Yankees. Devin Williams got the 8th inning again with a 1-run lead. He struck out 1 for his 5th hold, and Luke Weaver got the 9th. He struck out 1 for his 7th save. For the Blue Jays, Jeff Hoffman got the 9th with a 2-run lead. He immediately gave up a walk and then a game-tying 2-run homer and took his 3rd blown save. I understand if people are frustrated, Scott, but whenever I dig in to Jeff Hoffman's numbers, they all look awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I can't just keep saying it's bad luck. It's like clearly he's leaving pitches out of over the plate that hitters can drive in bad times, but I still trust the talent here.
Yeah, it just becomes a question if the Blue Jays decide he's costing them too many games and that they have to do something else with the 9th inning. I don't think there's a clear backup plan there, so I'm sure
I think Jimmy Garcia is pretty good.
Yeah, I mean he's been around for a while, and never really taken to that closer role, but he has been pretty solid this year, missing bats at getting strikeouts at a better rate than I thought. So they could go that route. And that would be my biggest concern for Jeff Hoffman, less that he's just not good enough to do this than that the Blue Jays run out of patience and he doesn't get the chance to recover.
For the Padres, Robert Suarez got the 10th inning with a 1-run lead. He allowed the ghost runner in on a single. He took his 2nd blown save. For the Phillies, Jordan Romano got the 9th inning with a 2-run lead. He struck out 2 for his 6th save. And in May, Jordan Romano, 8 shutout innings with 12 strikeouts to 1 walk. He looks like he might be pretty good. 74% rostered, so still out there in a few shallower leagues. For the Nationals, Kyle Finnegan got the 9th inning with a 1-run lead. He gave up an unearned run on 2 hits, took his 3rd blown save. And for the Brewers, Trevor McGill entered with 2 runners on, a 4-run lead, no outs in the 9th inning, and he converted his 8th save of the year.
I mean, this Jordan Romano turnaround just exemplifies.
I thought by the end of April they were going to cut him,
Yeah, his ERA at one point. Oh, this website isn't updating like it should, so I can't look up what his ERA was at one point, but it was like over 12 as recently as oh my gosh, it was 7. Is that right? No, I didn't pick the right date range. All right, it was 1350. As late as April 26th.
Oof.
Yeah. He looked like he couldn't get anybody out. Like he might be, like you said, like he might be at the end of his career. And then since then, he's allowed, so basically a month's time almost, He's allowed 4 total base runners, 9 shutout innings,
Crazy.
13 Ks, just completely transformed. And that just shows why it's so hard. I mean, 15-team roto leagues where saves are gold.
I dropped him.
Yeah,
in a
so
15-teamer.
did I. A couple of them. And now he's back and he's somebody else's. And like, what?
so frustrating.
I mean, what could you do? But it goes to show you that if patience was worth it, even in Romano's case, where there was nothing redeeming there, then for all these players who have struggled so far, and there's plenty redeeming, there's plenty of reason for optimism. Keep the faith.
All right, to stream or not to stream for Friday, we have Clark Schmidt at the Rockies, Landon Roop at the Nationals, Clayton Kershaw at the Mets, Sean Burke against the Rangers, Noah Cameron at the Twins, Giolito home against the Orioles.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this isn't good. I think we said that the best choices, we were discussing Friday's slate yesterday. Actually, it looks different now. Clark Schmidt at Colorado, was he an option before?
I think he might have been a TBD, but now they've added him in there. So
yeah, I think he's my favorite. I know
Yeah.
Colorado is Colorado, but Colorado the team isn't Colorado. I guess it is. They've been bad for a while now, but you get what I'm saying. Like they're so bad at Coors Field, can't even save them. So Schmidt, then Roop, then Noah Cameron at the Twins, but I don't love it.
on Saturday, we have Zebby Matthews home against the Royals, Jake Irvin home against the Giants, Colin Reyes at the Reds, Jack Leiter at the White Sox, Luis Ortiz at the Tigers, Jose Soriano home against the Marlins.
Yeah, I like this a little better. I will say Soriano against the Marlins and Jack Leiter at the White Sox. I probably over Soriano even.
Yeah.
And then Luis Ortiz at Detroit. I don't mind. I think it's a good chance he gives you 8+ strikeouts at least.
And then on Sunday, we have Will Warren at the Rockies, Mike Soroka home against the Giants, Edward Cabrera at the Angels.
You don't sound enthusiastic. Frank.
How far can we stream against the White Sox, Scott? Because Patrick Corbin is at the White Sox.
Too far for me.
He's actually looked okay for what it's worth.
Yeah, too far for me.
Yeah.
Realistically, the only one I'd consider Sunday is Will Warren at Colorado.
Okay. If we have to give out a second one, I will say Patrick Corbin at the White Sox.
Okay.
But oof, that is risky. We are going to wrap there. For Scott, I am Frank. Thanks as always for tuning in to Fantasy Baseball today. Please make sure to follow and leave a 5-star rating on Apple or Spotify. And we will be back again on Monday night. Reminder, not live on Sunday, Memorial Day weekend. Everybody enjoy, stay safe. But we will be back again on Monday night. We'll see you then. Bye-bye.